Held on violation of Shinjuku Station's anti-nuisance ordinance, the defendant of this appeal is active duty officer Akihiro Ihara. He was previously convicted and sentenced to 6 months. However, the defense wholly rejects the sexual battery charge and asserts his innocence.
The prosecution points to 2 pieces of evidence to prove the defendant guilty. One is the security camera footage from Ikebukuro to Shinjuku Station. The other is fiber traces from the victim's undergarments on the defendant's hand. The defense maintains this was not sufficient evidence to issue a guilty verdict. We have prepared counter-arguments to each piece of the prosecution's evidence.
How does the prosecution respond?
We maintain the original sentence was perfectly adequate. That is all.
Then first, let's examine the security footage from Ikebukuro and Shinjuku Station submitted at the first trial. This is for the individual wearing sunglasses, and this person remains at 9:06 a.m. He locates the victim of this case, then he boards the train and pursues her. This footage of the station platform...
We already saw this during the first trial.
Of course not. The victim claimed the defendant moved in a suspicious manner once the train left Ikebukuro Station, ultimately placing his hand under her skirt. After they arrived at Shinjuku Station 6 minutes later, however, there's a possibility the offender seen here, the goal was to disguise this event as an alibi. In other words, this instance of sexual the original verdict was issued without taking this into consideration.
This is merely speculation.
Yes, there is indeed no definitive proof. However, the notion itself cannot be
Would you care to elaborate?
The assailant fled the train and was caught shortly after on the Shinjuku Station platform. Many nearby passengers filmed the scene. The impact may have been greater. There's no mistake that the man apprehended upon arrival, station police arrested him. With that said, there's a very real possibility the offender who ran off, we have the evidence to prove it. If you'll kindly look at this.
What is this? Displayed on the large monitor, please. Is that a diagram of Shinjuku Station?
That's correct, Your Honor. First, the victim and the offender ran onto the platform as soon as the train doors opened. The train car they boarded is here on this map. We've marked the offender's route with an arrow. The lighter areas on the overhead view are within the security camera's line of sight. More people pass through Shinjuku than anywhere on Earth in a single day. It's packed with security cameras. However, this arrow with the dotted line reveals the existence of a small blind spot. That's where the defendant and stand-in...
I see. So you claim...
Yes. As such... Defendant, when you were issued the verdict in your first trial in a warehouse about 3 days ago, if that wasn't enough, you correct despite the fact the police... How did you manage to pull off such a feat?
Came to me in a dream.
Mikoshiba-san was your son Toshiro.
That's right.
Toshiro Ihara was found dead in his apartment. Afterward, the defendant sued the school.
Yes?
Ihara-san.
There were rumors my son, unfortunately...
And these rumors were to say...
They were.
Of the bullies mentioned, Mikoshiba-san. Were you aware of...
I was.
Would you say you harbored murderous intent against...
Objection. The defense's question is irrelevant. Also, the Kanagawa police are The courtroom is no place for
How does the defense respond?
The timing of the battery incident makes this case an We believe there's a very relevant connection.
Very well. The
Please keep it brief.
Just as soon as the defendant answers the question.
Of course I did.
In other words, Your Honor, on the day Toshiro-kun's bully, Mikoshiba-san, was killed, it became his alibi for the murder. A 6-month sentence. That's all the motivation the defendant... His stand-in groped his accomplice, and then they swapped places.
Then the defense should present some evidence.
Wrong. That's not how this works, is it? If we go through all the evidence and discover and it's on the prosecution to refute that.
Fine. The defense's argument about the security camera's blind spot is flimsy at best. While the defendant was running, his female victim was chasing after him. Surely the victim would have seen if he had switched places, yet the victim provided no such
The
testimony.
victim, Yui Mamiya?
Objection! This is an insult to the victim.
We have good reason to doubt the victim's credibility. In fact, that's all but sure. The way you phrase that. Is the prosecution admitting that defense's claims aren't wholly impossible?
Beg pardon?
That would imply the guilty verdict from the first trial was issued without 100% certainty.
Now you're just nitpicking.
Defense, if you claim to doubt the victim,
Yes, we do. In actuality, she wasn't the only conspirator who helped stage the groping. The bystander who captured the defendant. Both men, in conjunction with the victim, which means, strange as it sounds, that these seemingly unrelated individuals. It's clear that this was a carefully
Our investigation discovered they all. Additionally, Yoko Sawa, the teacher who was killed in Egypt 4 years ago, she was the teacher of the defendant's son. We believe this indicates a connection between the Kuro.
Of course, that's as deep as we need to go on that. We've simply presented the possibility that, and as long as such a possibility exists,
Your Honor, I haven't committed murder. Everything else is in the...
defendant, why did you agree to this appeal then?
You can ask my lawyers.
How does the defense...
it's just as the defendant said. To refresh his memory, I'd like him to take a look at some footage.
Now what?
But please, don't display this on the large monitor.
Excuse me, wasn't that the...
As I said, this is solely to refresh your memory.
Please proceed.
That's just internet footage.
No. This footage is from the SD card in the camera used to record. This is a write once, read many card, also known as a... Anything recorded on it is highly reliable. After serving your time, you intend... But Kawana can't wait for that to happen. And that's why he left it in Mike.
Don't kill me. Please. I swear I'll try to make it up to him somehow. Stop it.
Defendant, in that footage,
You could say it looks
the
like...
person you killed, according to the autopsy report, he died sometime after 7:30 a.m. Therefore, it can only be that the person who passed through the ticket gate. As the defense, we cannot allow our client's conviction. May we continue questioning?
How does the prosecution...
Even if the footage has an irrefutable source, I'd just like to state that in advance.
So the prosecution is denying the murder? Remind me who exactly is defending me here.
Good question.
The defense repeatedly mentions a stand-in. Who even are they? The person on the station's security footage was wearing sunglasses.
We believe he used a mask made. If you look closely, the alleged defendant at Ikebukuro. We learned this from sources who may have been the stand-in.
Then we should call them to the stand to test.
No need. The defendant should...
I don't know any...
He said he doesn't know. So what now? The murder footage has excellent production value, but nothing else corroborates the defense's claims.
Your Honor, I would like to request further
Denied. Both the defendant and the victim certified that it would be unprecedented for a victim to...
By that logic, there's no precedent for using battery as...
I will admit there is a possibility, but not enough to justify subjecting the... I must once again deny the...
But...
Defense, I've made my...
Your Honor, following the defendant's last statement, we have...
Do it.
What's...
Ihara-san, you're familiar with Jin Kawana, aren't you?
Nope.
On October 7th, Kawana disguised himself as you. He was the stand-in for the sexual bat.
Your Honor, no evidence has been submitted to verify the name Kawana was not present on any...
Kawana is the very person who
Defense, as the prosecution has stated, we've not even confirmed if he exists.
But, Your Honor, Kawana is a key. Without him, Ihara-san never would have killed Mikoshiba. Am I getting through to you? No, you definitely... Kawana's the one who fanned the flames of vengeance. Take a listen to this.
What is
It
it?
wasn't just some random internet post that made you... Even while battling the school in court, you still... That's when Kuwana came to you with this recording.
Toshiro-kun came running to the roof, and a few minutes later, I'll never forget the fear.
That's the voice of Yokosawa, the teacher Toshiro-kun
He
confided.
told me about everything, how nobody was on his side, and yet, believe me, they said there was no hope.
After hearing this, the defendant came to believe Mikoshiba-san's unchecked aggression toward and ultimately, this became his motivation for murder. Isn't that right, Ihara-san? I see.
Then, is that all?
This recording only came into my hands by except, thinking about it now, much like the murder footage.
What?
We live in an age where audio and video footage can be...
What are you getting?
Sawa-sensei, the one speaking in the recording, and the one who recorded it, Kuwana, meaning that as far as this recording is concerned, no one is left who can prove that it's authentic. Or is my understanding incorrect? You would say you're completely unaware of the details about your son in this recording. Kuwana had it. Didn't he play it for you?
I never heard it. Regardless of the content, it has nothing to do with me.
What do you say? In that case, let's just assume then that Kuwana and I are the only ones in possession of this audio recording. And considering that Kuwana has all but vanished without a trace, that would actually make this the only copy, and me the sole owner. No backup exists.
What are you getting at?
If this has no value in this courtroom, then I'm afraid it's never gonna have a value beyond today. And being that you claim it's unrelated to you or this case, then it wouldn't bother you if I were to delete it from my phone right here and now.
Why would... That's crazy. I wouldn't!
Okay. Then tell me why I shouldn't do it.
Because Mikoshiba was a man who should never have escaped being judged. That's the proof of my son's pain. The proof that everyone ignored. That recording is all I have left of him! I took the school to court because Toshiro deserved justice. But all they could say is that the cause of his suicide couldn't be determined. In the end, not a single person was held responsible. No proof, no justice. My son was hung out to dry.
Yes. That's all true.
All of you. You're all so incompetent. You see yourselves as these paragons of law and justice, yet the truth slips right through your fingers. And then, my alibi made you a mockery. I made it so real. You passed me off as just another pervert. You were gullible. Every single one of you. Toshiro threw his life away and justice was blind to his pain. Mikoshiba walked free because of you. You condone murder and call yourselves the law. That's why I did it. I took Mikoshiba's life with my own hands.
This is coming in hot. Remember that pervert cop? Turns out he's actually a murderer.
To recap, you killed Hiro Mikoshiba in Ijincho, then headed to Shinjuku Station where you and Kuwana pulled off a switch, and there you were ultimately arrested as a groper.
Yeah. That's right.
Defendant, you bear animosity for the whole system. We can't just take your words at face value. If you're responsible for Mikoshiba-san's murder, can you bring forward any evidence, or just the murder footage?
To tell you the truth, I have something that I was holding on to for the impact that it would have. It's very real evidence that the law has failed us.
What have you been hiding then? Will it prove you killed Mikoshiba?
Yes.
Then what is it?
If you go to my wife's apartment, you'll find my son's altar there. In it, you'll find the weapon I used for the crime, the knife I murdered him with. It still has Mikoshiba's blood on it.
Wait a minute, Genda-sensei. I prayed at that altar.
Well, I guess you can lead a horse to water.
Very well then. We'll open an investigation.
Defense. Will there be anything further?
No matter how justified, vengeance is not something we can ever take into our own hands. That said, in the case of Ahara-san, our system failed him. We know the law strives to be just, but it failed to prove Toshiro-kun was bullied. That's not justice. Not when no one is held responsible. The law, as well as those who enforce it, are far from perfect. So to the court, I say let this case be a lesson. The law is failing to save people who need saving.
It's clear proceedings should be adjourned. At a later time when Mikoshiba-san's murder weapon is recovered, we can resume the trial. I'm willing to do that via a special exception. Defense, prosecution, is that clear?
No objections.
The defense rests, Your Honor.
Well, Kanagawa PD called from the Ehara residence. They've recovered the knife. I'm ashamed to admit that I was so blind to his scheme.
Well then, that makes two of us.
Seems I underestimated you. And the worst part of all, I was arrogant. Legal authority and organizational connections should never be held above the pursuit of truth. I'm glad you were able to make me see that again. Thank you.
Nah.
You've come a long way.
Genda-sensei.
Prosecutor Takano's been stubborn as hell from the day he passed the bar. Once he's made up his mind, nothing can stand in his way, not even his own boss. And he only bows once in a blue moon, so I hope you remember this.
Typical Genda law. I'm never going to like you.
You two really pulled it off. Great job.
Yagami-san.
It's Kusumoto, the Vice Minister.
Bondo.
He's from public security?
Right.
You handled that with such grace, Yagami-sensei. It's no wonder Kawana holds you in such high regard.
What brings you here?
Yagami-sensei, would you mind if we talked alone?
Why, though? Something we can't hear?
The more you know, the more you risk. You'd be endangering your own lives. If you're willing to accept that, feel free to stay.
We'll clear the room. At this point, we'd just be getting in Yagami-san's way.
It was nearly a month ago that Kusumoto-san received a letter from Kawana, though we were unable to use it to trace him.
What did it say?
Soma told you, didn't he? Kawana hid Shinya Kawai's body, seeing as Kusumoto-san's fingerprints and other traces were still on it. If that surfaces, the Ministry of Health will have yet another massive scandal on its hands. As such, we'd like to recover and dispose of the body as quickly as possible. Perhaps we'll need to melt it down.
The body was originally preserved to maintain control over Mitsuru's bullies. I never imagined it would be used against me someday.
Fine, but why are you telling me this?
Because of the letter he sent. Once Ehara-san's trial is over, he wanted to talk to you. Using my phone.
Huh? Is that Kawana?
Kusumoto-san, is Yagami there? Put me on speaker, please.
Go ahead.
So, it seems Ehara-san's trial was a big success. He took our failing legal system and turned it on its head. Couldn't have done it without you.
I don't know what you're thinking, but public security has to be tracing this call. You have a plan?
Nope, not this time. That's why I'm using my own phone. And that's just the way I want it. Can't run forever, you know.
What the hell are you saying? They catch you, you're a dead man.
That's exactly why I'm negotiating to prevent that. Kusumoto-san.
Yes.
I'll be upfront with you. I never imagined the day would come that you would be the one to betray me. But if I had to guess, Mitsuru-kun must have woke up. If that's the case, then Kawai's murder, your whole past, you're not the only one it stands to ruin. If all that comes into the light, Mitsuru-kun will be labeled the son of a murderer.
Exactly. I can't let that... That's the one thing I need to prevent.
I know. That's good. That's exactly what you should be doing. So please, don't stop now on my behalf. Enough is enough. You and your son have been through enough hell. I want to protect Mitsuru-kun too. Almost as much as his mother.
Where is Kawai's body? Tell me.
I can only assume this call is being traced, so even as we speak, I'm standing somewhere very close to it.
You gave us the location. I'm going to dispatch Soma. Kawana! Where are you?
I'm in Injincho. If I take even one step out of this city, I'd be powerless. I've got nowhere else left to go.
Kawana!
After they find Kawai's body and Kawana is taken care of, I'm next on the list. Bando can act at his own discretion. If he wants me gone, he'll be able to silence anyone who could know too much. Sawa-sensei was just the first victim. You yourself have sealed this fate, you know. Will you tell him? Will you tell Mitsuru-kun about Sawa-sensei?
Surely you know it wasn't my fault. Sawa-san's death was a tragedy. I never imagined that would happen.
What about Kawana? Can you imagine how his death is gonna play out in a few hours? I can, but I'm not gonna let him go down without a fight. Which means, I'm going to Ijincho.
I can talk some sense into Bando. I won't allow him to kill indiscriminately. So please, don't go out there to risk your life.
That's how it works. No promises. Tsukumo, Kawana's still out in Ijincho. Soma and RK are heading there too. We need to get to him fast.
Wait, are you sure about that?
You should be able to pick up some chatter. Pinpoint the location. I'm on my way. I'll talk to you soon. Tsukumo?
I see you've arrived in Ijincho safe and sound.
What's happening? Is RK on the move?
Oh yes. A picture began circulating on the internet not long ago. It was likely Kawana-san who put it out there. I just sent it over to you.
Hang on. Is this Shinya Kawai? That's his body.
Indeed it is. I data mined the image and found out it was taken just a minute. It's a warehouse company on Yokohama's.
You mean Siren's own? Send me the warehouse.
Actually, Sugiura, if you want to...
Can't count how many...
Just...
Yeah. Oh. These RK assholes are like bananas. They only come in bunches.
Take it they don't want us getting to Kuwana?
Guess they were expected. Sure are making a big show of it.
What are those people doing?
Should we call the cops?
Kaito-san, we're running out of time.
Yeah. Can't you see we're in a hurry?
You four, freeze!
Somehow they never show up when you need them. But they're right there when it's gonna be a pain in the ass.
Think this bunch is with public security?
I'm not sure. Either way, we don't have time to deal with them.
Hey! Relax, fellas. I can vouch for these guys.
Nabe-san.
The lid came off the Mikoshiba case. We can investigate the connection to Ehara. But what the hell are you guys doing here?
Kuwana's in a tight spot, actually. Can I count on you? Will the cops help?
What do you mean by a tight spot?
Take a step back, please. These men are gonna be under our jurisdiction.
This has to wait. We're dealing with a matter of life and death here.
Be quiet!
Hey, I told you I could vouch for these guys. Why don't we all just chill out and let them explain what they're doing?
Hey, what the hell? I suggest you stay out of this. Okay, name and department. Our orders are coming from way higher up the chain than yours, sir. So again, stay out of this. There's nothing stopping me from arresting a detective. Or do you want to try me?
And do your orders include going around belting us with your batons?
We're about to have a problem here, aren't we? All four of you, put your hands up and face the car. I said, move!
Oh, damn! It's Yagami-san! What brings you all the way out here?
Matsu? Akane?
Hey! Stop that!
Whoa! Back off, dude! Hey, check it out! These goddamn cops, they're jacking my friend's food because they're shady as fuck! I'm no expert, but is that shit legal?
Nice. Sugiura, start the car.
Okay.
Hey!
Herbie cop! There's a cop here and he's creeping on me!
Those kids aren't even half bad.
Let's roll!
Hey, stop the car!
Shit!
Let's go!
Tesso.
Looks like everybody's on our side. Except RK and the cops.
Great. Gowanna's gonna be waiting for us.
I'm on it. Going as fast as I can.
Tsukumo, we're just about at the place. You got a visual?
Yeah, the view's great from up here, Yagamishi. From my position, it looks like RK is swarming the whole building.
And Soma?
I can't confirm his location, unfortunately. Koana-san either.
Okay. So give me a number here. How many RK we got?
I'd say about 100.
100?
It's a massive warehouse, so they need all the manpower they can get. They seem to have fanned out to search for Kawai's body. The good news is there's no indication they found it yet.
Tsukumo-kun, got any bright ideas for where I should park this thing?
I'm afraid it won't matter too much. The enemy already knows you're en route. You'll have a welcoming party no matter where you decide to enter from.
That works. Just means we get to show up and beat down the front door.
Are you guys ready?
Hey, anyone else getting some good deja vu from kicking a bunch of asses in a downpour?
I'm pretty pumped, actually. It's reminding me I'm alive, you know?
Come on, man. Are you that bored back in Kamurocho?
Let's go! Let's go.